Well, welcome back, super amazing, incredible, fantastic, and phenomenal people. This is Mike Midkiff with Chapter 7b. We're going to continue on jobs, and again, just quick overviews. After I was sent to Shekinah, which if you heard 7a, that was pretty amazing. Now, these other ones are pretty cool too. At Shekinah, you'll hear the story later again about Chapter 14 or so with our littlest one that was taken from us. But while this happened, I had to take a lot of work off to fight this, go to court, get attorneys, and fight what was going on. And my pastor and boss, Joe, was so gracious there. He allowed me to take off whatever I needed, and I really didn't like to do it. I certainly do not like court, and do not like what we had to go through and all the time to me wasted, but it was necessary, and he was great. The attorney ended up being, as you'll hear, around $50,000, and during that I needed to make extra money. Actually, I had got a flyer, and I followed that up because it was to ministers and pastors and that kind of thing. It was a business, and we prayed about that. We really prayed, is that possible? Should we do it? We didn't have the finances, that kind of thing. And my wife said, well, if we're going to do this, and we really felt like God was leading us to do that business, it was something we could do on the side. She said, I'd really like in this little living room we had then a roll-top desk, one of those wood roll-top desks, which I never ever heard she had interest in before. And I know they were really expensive rascals. But I said, well, that's really cool. She goes, that would be so neat to have where we could work on this business together out here. And I said, yeah, that would be nice. Well, on the way home the very next night, I pulled up to our little gate. It was it was a mobile home community, a really nice place we had there. I liked it, but it was gated. And as I came to the gate and pushed the buttons to go in, the voice of God said, go to your mailbox, which to me didn't make sense. I even said, well, Chris picks up the mail during the day. Why would I go to my mailbox? But I said, okay, I need to do what I'm told here. And I pulled over and walked over to our mailbox, and in between all the mailboxes is a bulletin board. And someone put up a flyer that said free wood roll-top desk, and they had the phone number, and I called them, went right over to it. The one end of it was partially broken off but could be repaired. It was just beautiful. And they gave it to us for free. So for us, that was a go. Lots of neat things with EcoQuest, and it did make us a lot of money. At one point, God gave me an idea to do a kiosk, which no one had ever got the approval in the company out of 50,000 reps across the U.S., and they gave me the okay, and we ended up with 4 kiosks in malls because you couldn't have retail fronts, but they let us do that, and that was really a neat story. As I got off an airport once from Ontario and went to that biggest mall, and God told me where to go and where to get the kiosk, and that's the one we started with. They gave it to us. Anyway, a whole different story, and they just never end what God does. But I did, the EcoQuest was great, especially the time God sent me to India with Joe. Another thing that was God sent that we had to pray in because I didn't think there was any way I could leave. No way would I leave because we needed the money. I was working hard after church on weekends with that, and the time I was gone, the 10 days I was gone, we made more money in those 10 days than all the months before with me being gone. And God just shows me who was in charge and what He could do if we would just allow Him. From there, different things changed. God moved us to East Tennessee from California, Southern California, and that's another story you'll hear. But while we were here, things changed with EcoQuest, which is a different story. I keep telling you these different stories. I apologize, but there's so many neat ones. How God told us to stop that through Chris, through Special K. And I was praying and praying and praying and seeking God, what am I going to be doing? What should I do? Kept giving me blue. And I called Darrell West, my friend who had a men's group. I called him, and it was during the group, and he said they would be praying. And they prayed. I mean, what such great guys, so many guys, Dennis and just so many others, called with some great things that God gave them. They're very encouraging. That's, again, more truth to the fact that God's in charge is what the scriptures they were given. And they also said, God will tell you. He will make it clear. That's what God told them. And so it was great to hear because I had called Darrell because there was 2 companies. One was something with blue pools, and that wasn't the exact title. And one was another company called Blue Green, way out in Sevierville, which was about 100 miles from our home. So I went to the meeting with Blue Green to see what they're all about, and they wanted me to come, and the other company looked much better to me. I mean, they were willing to have me come down right away, pay me for going to Atlanta to train, pay me for the week's full pay training, and then I'd be started right away. The blue-green job, I had to go train for a few weeks and then get a license during that time. So it was about a 6 to 8 week process before I could even learn to be with them, and it was with sales. And then, of course, you don't get paid immediately. So that didn't look like it made any sense to me with the funds we had remaining. But I went there. I knew I should go both and see, because you never know. And while I was at Blue Green at the meeting, the lady was very nice, went over lots of things and how the training worked, that kind of thing. And then there's about 7, 8 of us. And she said she had to leave the room for a while, so we got to just hang out. Well, I just happened to go over to one gentleman, and his name was Bob. Now, this is Sevierville, you're talking Knoxville, you're talking all over. There's a good couple million people in the surrounding area. I mean, 1,500-mile radius area. It was a big place. Well, I just happened to talk to this gentleman named Bob. And I was talking to him and thinking, I said, this sounds good, but I'm going to take this other job. It just makes much more sense to me. And he says, great, what is that? And I told him the name. He immediately said he just left there. He just left that company. He made money. And before I continue, I want to tell you the other word I got in prayer. I kept getting blue, and I kept getting laundering. And I had no idea what either one meant, except to the 2 blue jobs came. What laundering meant, I did not know. It didn't sound good. But he started telling me about the things that were happening and how many times he made great sales and later he didn't get paid. They said, oh, they backed out, and they found it wasn't true. And then later ran into a gentleman that was an accountant for them who had quit and said there was some real challenging things going on there, including laundering of money. And if it wasn't for meeting him there, where God clearly set that up and told me clearly what I needed to pick, I would have went there and not been a good situation. That's how good he is. I mean, the odds of that are just astronomically not going to happen. So that's that one. And I was blessed there. The first day I went, I made the largest sale possible. Again, it wasn't me, because I'm not a salesperson in the sense that knows how to do all the gimmicks and how to have the right questions and the right psychology to get the sale. There are good things with selling, but not in terms of when you sell something to people they really don't need, and that's just not me. I'm just never going to be good at that, and that's not something I want to do. So that job was for a couple months, but man, it was wearing on me. It was 6 days a week. I left early in the morning, drove 100 miles, worked all day, and drove 100 miles back 6 days a week. I wasn't seeing my family barely at all. And after a couple months, it was really getting to me, and plus some things around there I didn't quite like either. So we got off early one day, and on the way home, I was praying, God, I appreciate this. You bless me with income, but income has nothing, it means nothing to me. I've had that in the past, and it's serving you, and it's being with my family, and I know you're all about family, and it's just a huge priority, knowing God and helping my family, helping others, not making money. And I was just, having those kind of talks with God on the way home, and went down to my office when I got home just to check my machine, and there was a message on there from a gentleman named Alan. He wanted to interview me for a job, didn't say what it was. Just said he had got an application from me some months before. I didn't recall it, and I said, wow, that sounds interesting. That's nice. So I wrote down his number to call him. When I hung up, the Spirit of God said, Mike, that is your job. It's a family fun center, just like you had in California, and told me the location was being built. I told my wife, went right upstairs, very excited what I just heard. It was pretty incredible. And she said, great, let's go over there and see. I said, okay. So we drove over there, and there looked like some people had a crew in there and just starting to build something. There was no signs. We walked in and talked to someone, and the gentleman who came and talked to me was Bernie, which was the president of the company. I did not know that at the time, and he was the one doing the construction work. And I just asked him if this happened to be, if they were building a family entertainment center. And he said, well, yes, how do you know that? But that's true. And I just said, I heard that somewhere. Didn't really know how to tell him. I told him the truth. I heard it, but I didn't know how to explain that to someone right there. And I went on to find out that they were a Christian company and were closed on Sundays and some really cool stuff. And anyway, from there, I just went on and took my wife down and got the interview later and had another 3-hour interview with Alan. Great guy. He's a very good interviewer. He's very professional and knows his stuff. He's just awesome, and that's very quick, and there's so many wonderful things in between and throughout, but that gives you an idea how God has guided our lives. And I was at Fun Expedition for 5 years. Wonderful things happened there. God gave me the job as the group sales director, and I was blessed being the top person with that in our company. Nothing because of me again, all God. and finally had to give notice when my wife was, the pain was so great with her hands and feet and throughout her body that she couldn't drive or hold much, even a coffee cup. So it was time to give notice and come home. And it was tough in a sense because I love the job. I love driving over around 3 states and helping people in churches and businesses and schools and give them a discount to come have fun. I mean, it couldn't be any simpler than that. Company car, health benefits. It was so wonderful, but nothing's going to outweigh me being and helping my wife. And that's where I am now. And thank you again for listening. You're so awesome. Call me if you need anything. Prayers, questions answered, or I love to come and speak to anybody I can with details about what God's done in our life, and I know He'll do the same for you. All right, thanks so much. Have a tremendously blessed day.